What's up? It's Matt Plapp. We're back with another expert roundup from the restaurant biz. We'll be back in 1 second. Schatzy, tell us about yourself. I love guys with nicknames. I wish I had a cool nickname, but I just get called things I can't repeat on the air. What's going on?
Yeah, thank you. I think, well, I got a great nickname, Schatzy, Michael Schatzberg. Restaurant business, restaurant guy is my AKA. Been in the restaurant business here in New York City for the last 25 plus years. Currently own and operate about 22 venues in New York City.
Love it. And you've also got the podcast, which is a part of my heart because my colors are orange and blue. And the colors of the podcast are orange and blue. Tell us about the Hospitality Hangout.
Yeah, thanks. So we launched our restaurant business has been a long time here in New York City. In addition to our restaurant business, we launched branded strategic hospitality about 3-4 years ago, and that's an investment platform. So in addition to vetting and testing tech in the restaurants, which we've done for years as a great customer, using technology like, may not sound like a new technology or startup today, but Open Table 23 years ago when I was testing it, that was new technology. Yeah. So vetted and tested a lot of tech and realized that just being a customer is great. But you know what? There's some of these companies that we love so much and are solving so many problems that we should be investing in some of them. So we started investing in tech and innovation, made about 24 investments so far, which, long way of saying, that launched me into doing a podcast. Love doing the podcast, Hospitality Hangout. It really helped us continue to to spread the narrative about how important it is for restaurant operators to embrace technology. Yeah. So we have a lot of really great CEOs and founders of some of these early stage tech companies on.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. I love listening to it. I found it, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months ago, I believe. And it's interesting.
I apologize ahead that you're actually listening to them, but I'm sorry that you're listening to that.
I think what got my attention was the colors, because everything in my life is orange and blue. My cars, our company vehicles, our company offices. And what struck me, what I liked about it, as far as the investment side of your company, it got my attention was I've been in technology on accident since 1999 when I developed my first website for a boat and RV dealership my brother and my dad and I started. And then in 2008, when I got into consulting, it was all on consulting restaurants and small businesses on how to embrace technology. And they all thought I was crazy when I told them about this Facebook thing and that websites were the wave of the future, even though they had already been there. It's just in 2008, people still hadn't adapted. And
I think Facebook's going to be huge, Matt. I don't care what anybody says. I still say it's going to be a winner.
And then I remember months before the pandemic, just trying to talk to customers about, man, I know you don't love online ordering. I know you don't love third party, but you've got to embrace the things that consumers are using, whether you like them or not. And it's out there. So it is what it is. I think it's ready to get rocking with regards to getting in the current years with customers.
Yeah. It's funny you bring up online ordering, like Open Table 23 years ago, New York City, we had a company in New York City startup called Seamless Web. That's 20 years ago. That's now today Grubhub, as everybody knows it. But 20 years ago, I remember meeting the founder, and he was right up the block from one of my restaurants, small little rinky-dink office, to be honest with you. And I said, wow, this is really cool. This would be great. So we can get orders from Midtown office. He's like, yeah. I'm like, well, what do we need to do to get set up? He's like, do you have a fax machine? I'm like, no, but I can get a fax machine. I can buy one and put it at the host stand. And that was 20 years ago. We got a fax machine and put it by the host stand, and orders were rolling in. And at that time, at those days, your restaurants were full. So it really was incremental business. It really was just extra business. I remember a dishwasher, get an order, you'd yell for the dishwasher, he'd throw his apron off, grab the bag, and he'd run out and deliver the stuff, get a couple extra bucks for him. And it was really it was great. It was really interesting. And I think I paid 5% commissions back then. And it's changed a lot. But yeah, we were embracing it early on.
Yeah, and you have to. And I think that's a huge thing in the restaurant world is you have to be willing to embrace change. You don't know a ton about us, but we have a company called America's Best Restaurants, a TV show that travels the country. It's right now in Asheville, North Carolina, shooting, I think, 12 episodes this week. And when I travel with the van, I get to see a lot of the behind the scenes of these restaurants. And it's wild. I'll go from one restaurant that's doing 5 million a year and crushing it with technology. I'll go to the next one that's doing 8 million and doing nothing with technology. I'm like, wow, 10 or 12 million is not far off if you get into this day and age. Maybe get out of your DeLorean and step up to the plate. But I was at a restaurant 2 weeks ago, didn't have a website.
Yeah, it's funny, Matt, that you say that, because till to this day, I go on websites from restaurants, and you go onto the website and you're looking, wow, there's a really cool restaurant. Maybe I want to order from them. And then you click an Uber Eats button. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with Uber Eats. There's
Yep.
nothing wrong with any of these guys. But I'm on the restaurant's website of who I want to be a customer to,
Yep.
and they're sending me over to DoorDash or Uber Eats.
Yep.
It's crazy. To me, those marketplaces are just that. That's for discovery. Once the customer discovers you, you should never let them ever go out of that ecosystem of your restaurant ever again.
No, I agree completely. And that leads into the first question. I got 3 questions here. I saw somebody commented in the comment with a question, but my first question is, what is the place for technology post pandemic, and will it go away, or is it here to stay, or is it going to be tweaked? What do you think?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, like I said, there are certain cities and certain areas that have been using online ordering far longer than other. I would think that dense urban cities have been, working with delivery for years. New York City, before there was even digital technology at all, you were getting, you were picking up the phone, you're calling your pizza place or your Chinese restaurant, you're getting delivery in New York City way before there was any other way, because that's the way we eat. We don't really cook in the kitchens, we order in. So to answer your question, third-party delivery is going nowhere. It'll continue to evolve and change. I think the best thing that restaurant operators can do is make sure that they have their own native delivery, their own white label solution. So like I said, if you go to my website, you're going to order directly from me. If you're going to go onto a third party and discover, great. Once I get you, you really have to make sure you capture, whatever information you can, whether it be emails or phone numbers or what have you, to try and engage with that customer. And now when they want to order from you or they want to come to see you, you're engaging with email marketing and text messaging and promotions and specials right to that customer. So it's not going anywhere. I think that third-party delivery, it's a channel for revenue. It's an important one. We use them all at all of our restaurants, always have. And I just think it's important to keep a balance. If 100% of all of your delivery is through third party, that's not a good balance.
No.
You really need to have, find out what that balance is for you. But, I think not to have 25 or 30% of your business on third party, it's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned the data component. So, my background, what got me on the path we are today, we were a traditional marketing firm 8 years ago. And we did a Groupon with one of our restaurant clients called Hofbrauhaus House, Pittsburgh. It was like one of the first Groupons ever done up there. And I was excited because I looked at it like, okay, it's winter. We're going to get some incremental sales we wouldn't have gotten. We're going to get some cash up front, which helps the restaurant. But then we're also going to get all this data. And then sure enough, about a month later, I'm like, hey, there's 2,800 people that bought all these gift cards. How do I know who they are? And they're like, oh, you don't get that. And I was told a different story early on, but you know how it is. And I'm like, oh, well, at that point on, I became kind of on a mission. And our company, our acronym of our business is ABR, attract, build, retain. And the build part in the middle is however you attract attention, whether it's Uber Eats or Facebook ads or your website or your in-store marketing, it should all help you build a database. And I feel like I'm preaching to a wall sometimes when I talk to restaurant operators. I'm like, you got all these third-party orders coming in. Why is there not a call to action put in that bag to say, hey, customer, scan this code, come into our world, get their name, phone number, birthday, and then sell to them directly? It's an acquisition tool more than anything.
That's a great point. And I got to tell you, you go back to the old school, sometimes just old school marketing, a color, two-sided, 4x6 card, which you can get, you can use like those overnight prints, those quick places. You can print up a couple thousand for literally pennies. Stick them in every bag, and maybe it's an offer, whatever it is, but that works, man. It works, and you can convert a few people with an offer, and then they, if they're ordering from you every week, and they're going on to a third party, they're your customer, man, and you're paying a commission. You should really, really be engaging with them all day, every week, and Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, promotions, brunch, and it's like I said, it's not hard. It's easy and it's cheap. You just got to, sometimes you don't need a lot of technology to do some of those things. Like you just said, a card in the bag.
And what's funny, I love when marketing kind of slaps you in the face also. When the pandemic hit, we have an office now in Northern Kentucky, but we were in downtown Cincinnati last spring. And so when the pandemic hit, I continued to go to my office downtown. It was not a big deal there. We only had a couple employees in there. And I'm sitting there one day, every restaurant's closed. Like literally, we couldn't walk. That was the reason we were downtown Cincinnati, was to eat good.
Right.
And there were no restaurants open. So I'm like, okay, well, let's go on Uber Eats, because I couldn't think of anything around us. And I didn't want to walk or drive anywhere. And so I got on Uber Eats. I ordered from Max Pizza Pub, a little restaurant bar over across the river in Northern Kentucky. And I'm like, oh, Max, I forgot about them. So we ordered from Max, and it comes over, and their food's always good, wings and pizza. And on top of the wings was a Post-it note. No lie, as grassroots as you can get. Hey, Matt, we appreciate your order on Uber Eats. Did you know we deliver free from our website or phone number? Guess what? I ordered Max, because we never quit going to our office. I ordered Max once a week, every Wednesday for like 5 months. From calling them directly because of that Post-it note.
Little things like that really help. I remember we would do little cookies in a bag with the same kind of thing, with a little note, a little card saying, hey, order direct on this link, and get 10% or 15% off your next order. And then you capture their email, you capture their name, and once you get that, then you can put them into. There's so many CRMs out there and systems out there. We use one that's Fishbowl. It used to be, now it's Personika. Birthday email, anniversary email, automatic. So there's so many things you can do to build your business. And and like you said, I think when you get a customer and it's a repeat customer, I mean, that's your customer.
Yep.
The cost of acquisition is expensive, but a guy who's already loving my wings or loving my pizza, he already knows me, man. It's so easy to keep him coming back.
Yep. And I love you mentioned database. We actually have a software company. We developed Database Dynamite that we use for hundreds of restaurants around the country. And the first question we ask, no matter how they come in, whether they come in from a QR code, they scan that third-party bag, or a website widget or Facebook, is we find out their visit frequency. It's basically 3 answers we end up getting. I haven't been before, so we know they're a new customer. Or I come frequently, they're a frequent customer. I haven't been in a while, they're a lost customer. And we put them in different nurtures based on what they told us, because a person that hasn't been in a while or a person that's never been is different than the Matt Platt that comes in every Wednesday.
It's a different sales pitch to the guy who comes in every Wednesday. It's a totally different pitch to the guy who's never been there, and the same person who's haven't been there in a while. Reminds me of with car sales. Car companies recognize that to get a person who owns a Honda to switch from a Honda to a Toyota, for example, it's really, 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 really hard. It's easier to keep a guy in a Honda. So the Honda guy, just keep on marketing to the Honda guy than to try and get a Honda guy to buy a Toyota.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. So next question is kind of a little taken off of that, is that I've seen it in the suburbs in our area. I've seen some restaurants popping up that dine-in's gone. Now you're in New York, you're in the hub of people grabbing and going. Do you see a trend maybe in the near future that we're going to see restaurants go away from dining rooms and have grab and go more often?
It's a great question. I think going out is something that we as like a species love to do. We love to go out. We love to go to restaurants. We love to go to bars. We love to see and interact with people. I think everyone got a real recognize that during the pandemic, depending on what city you're in, the lockdowns. I think a lot of people couldn't wait to get back out again. So we like to go out. We recognize that. However, to get someone to go out off of their couch, away from that giant screen TV in 8K or whatever, with Hulu and Netflix and Disney Plus, it's got to be an experience.
Yeah.
So just to get Matt off his couch for a pizza, that may not be enough anymore, because Matt, we already established, you can order a pizza, got some great wine, maybe some beers in the house, and he's happy.
Yep.
So to get Matt out, you're going to have to be a little bit more of an experience. You're going to have to do a lot more. So I think the way we dine is changing a little bit. I don't think there'll ever be no one eating out in restaurants. I think people will really love it.
Yep. But
I think if he's just going to go and get mediocre food and mediocre ambiance with nothing else, I don't really need to do that. I'd rather sit in my living room and watch, a great movie or something. Having said that, I think footprints are changing. When I started in the business, it was 70-30, 70% front of the house, 30% back of the house. I think now you're finding footprints are changing. You don't need 70% of your space to front of the house. They're smaller footprints, more dedicated to easy access for delivery and pickup. The dining room will shrink. Maybe you've already seen it in a lot of fast casual, more counter space, more kind of grab food and sit and look at your phone. I mean, my kids, they don't even want to talk to people when they eat. They just want to look at their phone and look at Instagram or TikTok, and they're
Yep.
happy just eating a burrito just like that. So it's just changing and evolving. I think takeout is great. I think delivery is great. And everyone still loves to go to a bar and go to a restaurant. It's just changing. And I think if you had a restaurant that was 300 seats, maybe you don't need 300 seats. Maybe it's 100 seats. You know what I mean?
No, and I agree. I agree completely on the entertainment value that, I've got two pizza places near my house that I don't order delivery from. I enjoy sitting there, but then I've got that normal run of the mill pizza place. I'm like, you know what? It's maintenance. It's just because we want to sit on the sofa, be by the pool, eat pizza, and watch a movie at the house. I jokingly told my son the other day that you don't enjoy every meal, Cole. Like every meal is not going to be your favorite. It's not going to be your best. I said, but when you go out, like my wife and I went to dinner last night. My son, seems like eats Chipotle every day after football practice. And him and his buddy went to Chipotle. And my wife and I went to a little restaurant down the street from our house and enjoyed a quiet dinner. And I don't think I'll ever get away from that personally. But I do see, like you said, the footprint. When we were traveling in North Carolina a couple weeks ago, one of the places we visited called Sweet Taters used to have a giant waiting room that was for people to wait for their tables. It's now pick up and third party pickup. It went away from that. And then I've also another restaurant that we went and visited had this area that they've dedicated an entire second line to take out and pick up and third party, because they said, man, we can't put this on the backs of our people now that dine-in's back open. We've got to have two areas. So like you said, they went from a 200 person seating capacity down to like 150, and they took that extra space to help them prep and do things for to go.
Yeah, I think people are repurposing if they own their property or have longer leases, they're just repurposing some of the stuff. And I think that dovetails into what you're seeing, drive-through. I think, I remember growing up drive-through when, I'm 54. So when drive-through came around, it was really cool. And I would beg my mom, can we go to McDonald's and drive-through? Inevitably, she would usually say, no, that's garbage food. Let me make you food. But it kind of quieted down. But now you see a resurgence in drive-through, and I see a lot of restaurants ultimately will become just pickup windows. You'll just order from your phone, and then you'll just drive in and pick it up. And so I think pickup and takeout and drive-through will continue to grow. But again, that's not the experience. That's just, I want Chipotle. I'm going to go pick it up and go back to my house and sit, watch a game or something like that. And to your point, when you and your wife go out for dinner, that's an experience, maybe a romantic dinner or events, special occasions, things like that. And I don't think that'll ever go away. It's just, like I said, it's just changing. And then I think there's that whole virtual ghost kitchen, cloud kitchen kind of thing that everyone's talking about, and I guess that's just repurposing excess capacity in restaurants that are already around.
Yeah. Now you gave me a memory. So out on Thursdays, when I'm in town, I do an interview with my dad. He comes to my office. We do Fire with Dad on Thursdays at 3. And tomorrow, I got a McDonald's drive-through story I'm going to bring up with him. We had a bus. Some guy owed him money, and he couldn't pay him, so he gave him a school bus in exchange. And so he used the school bus for our Pee Wee football team to go to the games. The only Pee Wee football team
That's awesome.
We traveled in a bus. Well, my dad got the bright idea, and this was back before the drive-thrus had the covers. He went to McDonald's drive-thru after one of the games, like, hey, what the hell? Let's get McDonald's on me. And we pulled up, and he's like, hey, let me get 60 Happy Meals. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was like 15. This kid like leaning out the window, like, are they messing with me? They see a bus, and he's like, I'm not joking, lady.
That's awesome. That's a great story, by the way. I hope we decked it out in your school colors or your Pee Wee team's colors. That would have really been cool.
It was used for Boy Scouts and for a couple Pee Wee teams, and a few of us may or may not have, I can't say who, spray painted certain stuff on it.
Nice.
But it was kind of funny. The chairs weren't bolted down very good in some of the rows.
Yeah.
You'd be flying down the street, hit a bump, and everybody could fly in the air.
Yeah, I don't think that would fly today, would it? Not today, huh?
No, not today. Today he'd be in jail. He'd be on America's Most Wanted list. So,
yeah, probably so. That's another episode, right? We'll talk about that.
So last question is, what do you see as a piece of technology that people need to embrace that they're probably not, and or what's something on the horizon that us Kentuckians don't know about that New York's taking hold of? Because you guys get things first.
Yeah, I don't know if we get things first or last, but I will tell you that I think if by now an operator, and we touched on it earlier, hasn't embraced a an off-premise strategy for ordering and pickup, for delivery and pickup, you know, I don't think they ever will, and I don't know that you're going to survive. I don't care what kind of restaurant you are today. Even high-end restaurants, even steakhouse, even like the best of the best, they have something in place where someone can order online and pick it up. Maybe it's a limited menu. Maybe they don't have everything. That maybe things don't travel well. But to not have a strategy that people can order from you and either pick it up or delivered, it's crazy because you're missing out on a lot of business that you could get.
Yep.
So I think if you don't have that, that's number one. And then the second thing is, I think, and kind of overarching, whatever your point of sale system is, you have to make sure that it's updated, that you can plug in a lot of this new tech out there, like online ordering, like customer engagement, all these things. So sometimes you get stuck with an old point of sale system and you don't want to change. You don't want to change. I don't want to spend the money. But then you can't kind of use all these new tools. So you really have to get a cloud-based point of sale system that has a more open API with a lot of integrations that gives you the ability to put any kind of tech you want in there. And I remember when I first started, we were using micros. Love micros, nothing bad with micros. But these legacy systems back in the day, they were very closed and they only allowed certain vendors in. So if you wanted to use a scheduling platform, it was this is the platform you can use. But I'm like, but I want to try that one. Like it won't work with us.
Yeah.
So these open systems allow you to use hundreds of different technologies that, and I think next to online ordering, I think customer engagement and CRM is super, super important. That if I'm getting email address and getting phone numbers, great. What do I do with it? Well, you have to be engaging, sending thoughtful emails out on a routine basis. The same thing with text messaging, finding out how your meal was. I think it's great when you can say thank you for your order. We appreciate your business. Come back next week. Here's a discount, or come back on your birthday. Whatever it is. But I think that's really important today, and I just think that that it does start with a good solid point of sale system that integrates.
What is a couple point of sales that you've seen that you like that do a lot of the great
I
things?
am not embracing anything. I
Okay.
am not. But I think that we use Toast at our restaurants. I think Toast does a really great job
Yep.
for a full service. I think Square and Clover do a fabulous job for more limited service. And I think all of these things are very much not like the old days where the
Yep.
systems were 25, 30,
Oh
$40,000.
yeah.
You
And
get into a
big
system right now,
servers and clunky.
you can get into something really inexpensive, and I think it'll really change your life. And reporting is great, and that. But I think that those are three that I really think are doing a great job and very inexpensive and really easy to use. It's like an Apple, like an Apple iPhone. It's just
Yeah.
really easy to use.
Yeah, I think it cracks me up to think of my past. We had a boat and RV dealership that we built from scratch back from the late 90s, early 2000s. And I remember dropping 70K on a CRM system and server and all this crap. And it was brutal to spend $70,000 on it, but that's what we had to have to run the dealership. That was our management company. And now I've got friends in the business like, oh, it's on an iPad. It's $49 a month. And it's the same with the restaurant point of sales. I won't mention some of the names, but some of the big boys, I remember 10, 12 years ago, what you had to have to run your point of sale in your restaurant. And now the cloud-based solutions, the iPhones, the iPads, there's some awesome things out there.
Yeah. I subscribe to the idea that as time goes on, the BYOD, the bring your own device, and you're going to be ordering from your phone more and more and more and more and more, ordering and paying from your phone. I
Yep.
think retail has been way ahead of restaurants in that space, and I don't know a major national retailer you go to now that your credit card is not leaving your hand. And to this day in restaurants, you're still getting a check presenter, which is it's really kind of funny because the rest of the world comes over with a device for you to pay.
Yeah. So one question from the audience we'll get, and then we'll end this and let you go on with your day. Glenn asks, are you looking into CBD and food, and where is it going for mainstream restaurants?
Wow. Yeah, that's another good question. In New York City, for about a hot minute, we were allowed to make CBD infused cocktails and milkshakes and all these different things. We made some really great recipes, some great promotional material, and had some really great ideas. And I'd say the Department of Health in New York City shut that down in about a week. And they said, absolutely not. If it's not FDA approved, you can't mix it yourself. So I don't really know where that's going. I see a lot more of it in the pre-packaged.
Yeah.
At least in New York, I haven't seen. At least, like I said, we're not allowed to mix cocktails with it and stuff like that at this point. But I think as time goes on, it just seems like it's becoming more embraced by states, and I think there's great value in it on so many levels. So I'm sure we'll see more of it coming down the pipeline.
Cool. So what is the best way to get a hold of you for people to reach out? Is it the website Branded Strategic?
Yeah, website's great, and my email is Schatzy@brandedstrategic.com. And the website's great, and listen, it takes a village out there. I think restaurant operators, we all have, I don't know, we are a unique breed. Anybody crazy enough to be in the restaurant business, I think we all are a unique breed. So we all get together, and I just love hanging out. I'll leave it this: I love traveling the country, going to a lot of the trade shows. I'm looking forward. FS Tech is just in a couple weeks in Dallas, and I love meeting the fellow operators from all over the country. It's a lot of fun, and we talk about war stories like we're talking about right now, and it's just a great time. So any restaurant operators want to get in touch with me, we love it. We love connecting and talking about tech, investing, and what's happening in the restaurant space.
Cool. I appreciate your time. Appreciate it. Look forward to following you more in the podcast, and maybe one day we'll be at one of these events and catch up.
Yeah, I can't wait to grab a beer with you, Matt. It's awesome.
Cool. Thanks, Schatzy.
Yep. Thanks for thinking of me, man.
Bye-bye.